Near, rip a hole in the sun. Welcome to Cum Paude. Why would you cum soft when you can cum louder? Yeah.
Welcome to Cum Laude. Cum Howdy. We're back at it again with the White Vans. It is 2024, Season 3, Episode 1. We left you for a while. We fell off, and we're coming back. We're going to do a better job here to kick off the season and be with you all throughout the 2024 season. We're going to get it back. We're going to have a good time. And we're going to start off with a fun one. We're going to talk about team needs going into the 2024 rookie draft for the Dynasty League of Public Honors Colleges. And so let us begin with talking about team over team. What does a team generally need to build around their core players? What draft picks do they have? We'll follow up this episode with a mock draft like we did last year and see how closely we can predict what players will be drafted at which spots. And, let's just see how that goes. We had a great meeting last night. For those of you in attendance, we had 10 out of the 14 owners attend the Zoom call to talk about the potential rules changes coming up. That rules committee got together to share their different opinions about some of the rules changes and get to listen to other owners and hear why they might stand for one version versus another. And then we've got the poll is out there in the league chat, so definitely click on that link and cast your votes here before the deadline, and we will see what comes of it. Some very important topics that could shape the 2024, most likely the 2025 season. But hey, let's get into this here right about now. We're going to be talking about every team here. We're going to try and pick which teams we want to go and start with, and we're gonna share our screen a little bit here and do it that way once we get past some of these technical difficulties. And yeah, man, just a little rusty trombone here coming out of not doing these in a while, but let's jump into it. We're going to talk about starting is going to be the Laporta Potties. All right, Laporta Potties, we've got 5 draft picks this year. We got the 101, the 114, the 201, the 204, and the 301. This team has the draft picks to really turn it around. Last place last year, but they've got what they need. They're building around some young talent with Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Devin Achane, and they're going to use these picks. I think we all know what the 101 is going to be, so they're going to continue to add to that wide receiver depth and just really be powerful in that area. Devin Achane was kind of splitting carries with Raheem Mostert last year, but I think we all know Mostert's not going to stay healthy another year. And even with Mostert in there, Achane was showing that they could really put up the points anyways. But we're going to look at this team probably going for running back. I say running back 2A/B because they don't really have a running back 1 right now. So we're going to look to see if they can add in another running back just to get you some of that flex, get you some bye week help. They need to get another tight end in here. Their tight ends are aging. Their tight ends are just kind of middle of the ground. So look to lock up a solid tight end in this draft. And then they could definitely benefit from having some quarterback depth out of here. They've got Justin Fields, who we really don't know what's going to happen with that play there in Pittsburgh. And then Jared Goff is in what is now a high-powered Detroit offense. So that should be a good setup for Jared Goff, but you never know longevity with that team as well. And with all these draft picks, you might as well take a stab at one of these quarterbacks that got drafted high and should get some early playing time. Next up is going to be the Jumbo Wieners. I got the 102, the 111, and the 206. This team is built around not much right now, but George Pickens, Jordan Addison, and David Njoku. Yeah, that's right. This team is built around David Njoku. See how that works out for them. But they definitely need to get some running back depth. Their number 1 is Chuba Hubbard, followed by Samaj P. Ryan out there in Denver. So this team needs to probably take a shot at a running back, whether it's trading that back, that 102, or seeing if they have somebody available still at the 111. They need to probably look into quarterback help. They've got Russell Wilson. They've got Matt Stafford. Stafford should be serviceable throughout the year, but looking to have depth in case Stafford gets hurt. And then wide receiver depth, you got Pickens and Addison, but there's not much else coming in behind there. So this team's looking to just build across the board. They've got the draft picks to do it. 206 is a nice earlier one in the second round. So they should be able to fill out their team. Probably not a big contender in 2024, but we'll see where they finish and maybe get a solid 2025 draft as well. Then we got John Wilkes Tooth at the 103, 203, 303. This team's actually got some decent talent inside of it. Led by Jonathan Taylor, Joe Burrow, and I've got Kieran Williams in there after a pretty good surprise season last year. There's some other players for sure to fill in those gaps. Calvin Ridley moving to a new home. Godwin in Tampa Bay, still going to be solid with Baker Mayfield. So we're really looking at this team to try and jump at maybe a flex running back to fill out some of those spots for bye weeks and add to that wide receiver depth a little bit. And yeah, 203, 303, there's a lot of wide receivers in this upcoming 2024 class. So we'll see probably a wide receiver get added to this Wilkes Tooth team, but all over, not a very great year in 2023. But has the players to make a push. You get Jonathan Taylor for the full year. Joe Burrow did get hurt as well. So this team, add a good, solid, strong play at 103 and maybe be able to get somebody that can get some playing time at the 203. And this team could be back into contention going into 2024. Then we've got the Dame Judi Denches, the 104, 214, 302, 308. Everybody knows the sob story of the Achilles tears and the knee dismemberments there for this team last year earlier in the season, which leaves a ton of question marks for this team of where they're at running back. They're led right now by DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, and let's face it, the Dallas Cowboys defense is carrying this team more than anything else. This team needs to get some running back help. The 104, maybe they trade back and try to get a later first round pick with some toys to come with it, or maybe just make a reach there at 104 because not knowing what the futures to be with Nick Chubb or J.K. Dobbins, and then some young talent coming up. But if they want to play for 2024, they're going to have to make some moves, it looks like. And then probably looking at quarterback for this team as well. Brock Purdy is playing way better than anybody ever expected as Mr. Irrelevant. And then Aaron Rodgers coming back from the Achilles tear as well. Might just get some depth there at quarterback with all these picks. Then we got the all hail ESPN, the 105, 205, 305, firmly anchored with Patrick Mahomes and Cooper Kupp. And then Rashee Rice, that's just adding in a nice little young talent that this team has, but coming off of some legal issues, likely to have a large suspension to start this year. This team has survived with Devin Singletary and David Montgomery for a long time. And based on some trades, it looks like this team can do that yet again in 2024 without having to shake things up too much. But I'm not sure how much longer this team can survive off of those players. Their average wide receiver age, if we get rid of Rashee Rice, is 30 between Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, and some other old fart that's floating around out there. But this team really needs help at running back just to add that depth. When you only have two players that you can confidently trot out, you're going to need somebody for a bye week, and you're going to need somebody to help out with the second flex spot for sure. This team's got some lower end tight ends as well. So look for them to maybe try and snag one of the top tight ends in this draft. And then a quarterback backup just for Patrick Mahomes. There's nobody behind him. Taylor Heineke is the next thing on the roster. So look at maybe snagging a backup for Mahomes there. We move on to the commissioner with the Minnesota Sordix. Only has one pick this year. Did a lot of changes last year, middle of the season. Pre-draft last season to get Tyreek Hill and add some weapons there. Got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, CJ Stroud. There's plenty of other players on this roster. It's a very solid team. Just went through some misfortune last year, didn't make the playoffs for one reason or another, but they've got the weapons. They've got Najee Harris, Javonte Williams. They got the people to go out there. So only having the 306 isn't a huge concern for this team's ability to actually play in 2024. You've got up here team needs. There's not really a lot of true team needs here, but if you're going to look at it, wide receiver, running back, look at a dart throw, see if this team might be able to snag this year's Puka, this year's Isaiah Pacheco, Kieran Williams, that sort of thing. Then we look at the Cum Sale, the 2024 draft juggernaut. We all know that they wish that they had lost more, and they should have lost more. It's just unfortunate that other teams brought their F game when they played Cum Sale and they somehow snuck into the playoffs. But they get the 106, 107, 108, 109. That's right, 4 picks in a row. And don't let anybody fool you here. This draft, the first round is actually pretty potent with talent. Yes, the first 3 or 4 in this draft are at a different tier than everybody else, but there's a lot of talent still left to be had at the 106 through honestly 112 to get somebody that can make an impact for your team. This team is built around Bijan Robinson, Sam Laporta, and Nico Collins right now. That's not saying a lot, but Bijan and Sam Laporta are solid. Nico Collins just showed that he can go off there in Houston. It's great quarterback play from C.J. Stroud and now some contributing efforts from Steph Diggs. But this team needs another running back. They badly need another running back to go with Bijan. They need a quarterback for sure, unless they're trotting out Will Levis or, from what I'm hearing, Hendon Hooker. And they need another running or wide receiver. So I'd see them go all across the board: running back, quarterback, wide receiver, maybe double running back. It's either a double running back or double wide receiver there with 4 picks in a row. Or maybe this team really shakes up the draft and decides to package a couple of these, try and move up closer into the draft and get one of those top 3, 4 players. But this is the draft where the Cum Sale could actually build out a solid starting roster and compete this year with the talent that they can put together. Because at the 106 through 109, you can get all NFL starters with those 4 picks. So looking forward to see what happens there. He does say that he will take all 20 minutes with those 4 picks in a row. Next, we got the Hot July Pies, got the 202, 209. More trades that had happened in this past year, previous years, just trying to position themselves. Didn't care so much about the first round picks this year. And they didn't really need to so much. Had the 102 last year and got Jahmyr Gibbs as Travis Etienne and then Justin Herbert. Plenty of other players on this roster. Again, we've got 4 or 5 teams here, I think, going into this year that don't necessarily need a bunch of draft picks. They've got a solid team already. They've got their flex spots filled. So at this point, you're looking at maybe adding extra wide receiver to this team, and then maybe quarterback backup for Justin Herbert, just in case something happens, maybe just to have some bye week fill. And that 202, 209 slot is a great place to definitely have a quarterback fall to you. Then we got Marty. Only got the 304 this year. Marty did a ton of moves last year. Really went all in, pushed the chips in for sure, and it just didn't work out for this team. They traded a lot away. They got a lot of talent. It just never came together in one week or another to push them over the limit. But they're building their team around Chris Olave's highly talented Fonte Adams, still top wide receiver, and hopefully gets better action there in Oakland this year. And then Joe Mixon as their top running back in a new home in Houston. But don't forget, they've got players like Austin Eckler, who's got a new home, Alvin Kamara, who's still out there, and then building around Jordan Love and Geno Smith at quarterback, and probably 3 starting tight ends. So if anybody needs tight ends, there's a guy that has them for sure. So this team's probably with a 304 draft pick, looking again similar to Kamish, dart throw in that 3rd round. Hope to hit that Puka wide receiver and really get some more players going, get some depth. This could be rebuilding happening. If that's the case, we'll see what Marty does. And we got the Big Dak Energy. This is the deepest team in our league. Has not been able to put together the year in the last 2, despite the juggernaut kind of lineup. It just hasn't come together yet. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. We got the 110, the 28, the 210, the 310. Team built around youth, built around talent. Breece Hall, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Dak and Tua at quarterback. So maybe quarterback insurance there with Tua getting concussed all the time and Dak being year on, year off. You never know how that's going to go. It's not a weak point at all for tight ends for this team, but maybe they could go for a tight end just to see if they can get somebody to be a standout. And then what's most likely to happen, since this team doesn't really need anything, is I think they're going to donate all 4 of their picks to charity, and we'll just skip over them. We don't need to draft for this team because it is just it's scary good, it's scary deep, and I think we're probably going to be facing some rough times up against Big Dak for a while. Then we go to the hammy time. Got the 211 through 9, 311, three later picks in this draft. They've got a ton of depth at wide receiver. If anybody hasn't looked at this team's roster, you just start clicking through some of the names. You look at the bench, and it's kind of crazy how this team has built themselves over the last year and a half, probably by making some strategic moves to collect players between Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Got some good players, Christian Kirk, just kind of sitting out there, hanging out there on the bench. But Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, DeAndre Swift are going to be your core. Isaiah Pacheco showed that they can play. And then Brian Robinson in Washington looks to have the starting job locked up with Eckler, maybe in the background, spellback kind of stuff. But this team doesn't need a bunch. They can put a roster together already. They've got flex spots filled, but you're looking at getting maybe some quarterback back up to Josh Allen. There's not a lot behind him right now, so buy a week. And for in case of injuries, and then running back can always help. The running backs are good running backs and good positions with their teams, but there's nobody really, a standout in that group. So maybe just look to add a little bit of youth, a little bit of growth as this team moves forward. Then we got Gimme Flowers, who finished in 12th place or third place last year. Got the 112, the 212, the 312. They didn't need to move anything with draft picks. They like their team. They like how it's going. So not a lot of trading with this group, but that's because their team has been solid. You don't need to make changes if your team's doing well. Built around Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, and a new home. This team probably going to look at add a little bit of running back depth. They are aging a little bit or having some players kind of fall out between AJ Dillon, just not doing what everybody thought he would do with Aaron Jones getting hurt a lot of last year. And then James Conner there in Arizona. Arizona did make a move to draft a running back. James Conner's getting a little bit older. So this team might want to start to look at getting some more running back depth, look at wide receiver. I mean, they've got Devonta Smith. They've got CeeDee Lamb. They've got talent, Zay Flowers, with some amazing flashes last year. Looks like he's going to be a stud. But maybe just a little extra depth. And then, again, just like some of the other teams, you've got a clear-cut QB1. Lamar Jackson, you're going to start every single week. Maybe pick somebody up that can be a bye week or just in case of injuries. Then we go on to the runner-up from last year, Beth's Healthy Twins. Got the 113, the 207, 213, 313. 113, 207 should be able to get some kind of talent there. 213, 313, you're starting to fade out. But this is the team that snagged Puka in the third round. And you see their core team, Puka, and then you got Jalen Waddle, Rashad White. That's the youth on this team. Yes, there are other weapons on this team that aren't mentioned on the screen right now. But, you got Raheem Mostert, who was running back 2 overall, and somehow defying that age cliff, defying the injuries last year. But that's probably going to happen this year, I would say. But who knows, so we got talent there. Zach Moss, now the RB1 in Cincinnati, so another good fill in there. But again, looking to find youth. Ezekiel Elliott getting back to Dallas might be the RB1 there. So this team falling into a little bit of luck potentially with some moves that have happened around the league, and might be able to make a repeat go at this championship. Fell a little bit short last year, but let's look at them to add some youth with Zeke and Mostert there, probably at the ends of their careers. Look at this team to try to get some backup at the tight end area with Mark Andrews. And then again, we're talking about quarterback insurance. This team's got Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury, who should be in a high-powered, better run Atlanta offense. And then Kyler Murray, who was injured most of the season last year, coming off the late injuries, but got to play a little bit towards the end. He's getting some weapons, that's for sure. We'll have the weapons to throw to, but maybe get a little bit of quarterback insurance just for future years. Finally, we got the Pubic Medusas. We got the reigning champ 2 years in a row. They've only got 2 picks. They're late. They're in the third round, 307, 314. Again, another team that can throw a full active roster at you with no gaps to need to fill right yet, led by Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce. But let's talk about all the other running backs that they have. Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Jalen Hurts at the helm, and Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. I mean, this team is going up against the team we talked about earlier, Big Dak Energy, who has that monster depth but youth. This team is great depth not so youthful. So this could be the final push for Medusa to get this three-peat and then start to look at selling some of these players that are just teetering right there on that cliff. But look to add maybe some running back youth. Prep with another tight end for when Kelsey looks to finally retire. Just sign that 2-year extension, so should hopefully good for a little bit longer. See how long he wants to play, and then again quarterback backup. He's got Ryan Tannehill and Gardner Minshew hanging out behind Jalen Hurts, which, Gardner Minshew should be able to put up points. That's a good bye week, but maybe start to look at a backup gap filler there if you can snag one at 307 or something like that. Best of luck to the Medusas, and definitely see what can happen with the year. So that is going to be our heads up. This is what team needs. If everybody wants to start looking at that, thinking about how they want to reposition themselves within the draft, make some moves, try to move up, move back, try to fill some gaps in your roster, see what other teams need a little bit. Maybe you've got some depth that you can dangle in front of some folks, and continue building for the future. Whether you're a win now team, whether you're a compete now team, or whether you are still in kind of your build phase kind of thing. Just start looking, start thinking, start playing chess, like Brian Miller out there playing the chess game while we're playing checkers, as Marty likes to say. And yeah, we're going to follow this episode up with an actual mock draft predictions for our league. The draft is going to be June 2nd, time TBD. Looks like we're going to do the live draft again in Frederick at the Nick McDaniel's Law School office. And it's going to be a good time. I hope more people can make it out. We had a really good showing last year, last year's draft. Good food, good drink, good people, good banter. It's a lot of fun. I hope more people can make it out too, as many as you can. I understand some are out of towners, but if you're not an out of towner, make a trip for it, make it happen. It's a really good time. Hope to see you all there. We'll get another episode out here shortly. And without further ado, good day, Firm. Good night, Fermi.
Thank you for listening to the official podcast of the Public Honors College Fantasy Football League. Cum quickly, cum often, and cum loud.